Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Layout Review. I'm the Immortals analyst, and I wanted to go over the LCS, how we're doing, and what do I think of all the other teams so far. So let's get into it. Well, to really do it, I guess we were ranked at the bottom power rankings by most people. They mostly did that because none of them had any idea who Mask was, even though he played in the EOM Spring Finals, did really well in the PRM, both splits. Though they kind of collapsed in the summer. So one, they had no idea who our mid laner was, which is weird. I'll admit it's fine to not really know who Castle was, because even for me, like, I watched him play, but it was not like he ended up getting like replaced or like subbed, put as a sub over Perfect on the KT LCK CLOL or CLOL CL roster, who now is their starting LCK top laner. That guy is pretty nuts. Perfect, that is. Castle, again, not as well known. But I would say, like I said, like, I get why like people were kind of like, well, I don't know much about him. It's not like he gained like a ton of attention either, like on the public eyes. So I get it. Armeo, he's had his mixed set of like performances. He's been on a lot of different teams, a lot of different years, but he brings a pretty consistent game. So I think people are like, okay, that's not a bad pickup. And then keeping tactical, I think the same thing. I think everyone was like, yeah, that's not too bad. And then bringing Ole back, I'm sure there was a ton of people who were just like, what does that mean? what is that? Is Ole still good? Like, he hit rank 1 Korean challenger again. Like, and he's done that consistently. I will say, like, I feel like every time he goes into the off season and he posts like he's looking for a team, it's like, yeah, I hit rank 1, by the way. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's impressive. But, you know, it doesn't always translate to something. But like, yeah, I basically get why they'd be hesitant on thinking, okay, well, you have a guy named Castle who didn't have a lot of attention. You're bringing back Ole, and then who the hell is their mid laner? And you'd be like, okay, put them at the bottom. I don't think that was fair. And, you know, like, I initially thought this team would be at the bottom, like 100 Thieves, because they're double rookies. And I mean, if you want to count Quid as a rookie, you can, because like, he didn't really play much of last split. So it's like they have 3 rookies, a 1-year support, and then River. The team shouldn't be doing as good as it is right now, but they are, which is quite impressive. But that was kind of like the initial. That was what everyone was thinking of my team, and after the first week, that definitely. I'm pretty sure everyone still felt the exact same thing. Because we went 0-2, we lost to Dig, which was not good because Dig is supposed to be on the bottom, like the lower level teams, and you know, you got to pick up every single win versus like bottom level teams to ensure that you're making playoffs. Like, get the easy wins, and if you could beat top teams, that's great. But getting these initial wins against these other teams it will help a ton later on when you get to these like high pressure, like, oh shit, if we don't win this, we're just out. Like, you don't want to feel that way. So we lost the Dig, and in moments it was fine, and in other like later cases of the game, like, we just kind of got like smacked around from the comp, and it was just like, oh shit. And then we played against FlyQuest, and I think we got first blooded, and they kind of just rolled through the game, and we couldn't really do anything. So that looked pretty bad. So yeah, it was not a good start for us going 0-2. So the expectations kind of sat. And then, of course, C9 did well. I mean, they smashed the living shit out of Energy. So naturally, everyone's expectations of them being the best team in all of LCS for this split for all year was kind of just like holding true. Naturally, like 100 Thieves like put up like a decent game versus C9, but they still ended up just losing. And actually no, I don't even know if they put up a decent. I think they just got smashed too, which was expected. No big, like, I think the biggest interesting thing was the fact that 100 Thieves beat TL in week 1, because TL to me should be doing better than they already are. Like, you have Impact, you have Umpty, and you have Core JJ. Okay, so those 3 are going to work well together. You have APA and Yeon coming back. Yes, I don't think they're the greatest of players, but they're on the roster still, and they've been on the roster, so the cohesion, the synergy, like it should be like fine in initial games. It definitely should be better than a rookie roster like 100 Thieves. But 100 Thieves still beat them, and I was just like, okay, maybe TL are going to be a lot worse this year, this split, than I initially thought. Like, I thought they were just going to be a B-rated team. Yeah, that might not be the case. Shopify, honestly, I didn't have a high rating for a lot of their players. So them kind of dropping games was expected, but I also thought they would give a better fight because they kind of got, like us, they kind of got smacked around a bit. So that was pretty surprising. And then Energy, yeah, I mean, they have a slow start. They did terrible versus Zion, but then they did better versus Stig. And then we go into week 2, so this is like where things get like a little bit more ramped up. And for us, you know, we beat Shopify, which was really needed. Like it was like, thank God we beat these guys. Like, it would have been really sad if we couldn't amount to win versus them, because again, if they're going to be a bottom level team, we got to beat them. So I think Mask had a pop off game for that game, so that was really awesome to see, because not like the initial 2 games, people didn't really get a good look of Castle or Mask, so finally they get that like intro, so that was really nice. And then we lost to TL. We should have won, and we were winning, but then we kind of made some dumb... Well, actually, no, I don't want to say we were winning. We had a good opener start versus them, and then we mis-executed a few times, and TL kind of just picked up some free kills, and it didn't really go the way we wanted to. And it's really sad when you kind of just make these unforced errors, and the game just like falls apart. But we went 1-1, 1-3, not the best record 1-3, but the fact you went 1-1, it's like, okay, we got to win on the board. That's done. Now we can go to next week, the Super Week, and kind of like do our thing. For the other teams, again, like, you know, you saw C9, they beat Dig, and you're like, expected, like, no surprises. They lost to Shopify, and it was off the comp because they were trying to run the Vayne mid, and you're like, I mean, C9 could have won the game with that comp, but it's a very high execute comp, and like they are not working well together. So that was definitely surprising, but honestly, to me, I was just thinking to myself, okay, they lost to these guys, but I'm just gonna assume this is just like one of those, oh, we just kind of let our guards down situations. That's what I thought. It's gonna get a lot worse in week 3. Energy, they had a really surprising win versus FlyQuest, but it was off just like a level like 1 situation in bot lane, and they kind of just like blew up the game. So it wasn't really like a true like tell of how like these teams will be versus each other. It was just kind of like, oh, well, our bot lane screwed up, and I made a play that actually made it even worse, and now we lost. So that was not very telling from FlyQuest, and FlyQuest kind of handled TL. 100 Thieves beating Dig, you know, I think at this point from these games with 100, what I noticed that at like from these first 2 weeks was 100 was a lot more playmaking oriented. Like River, I put Blabber at first and River at second in my initial rankings. And I was tempted to put River first. But I was just saying, okay, I'm just gonna trust that Blabber, you know, from his years of playing in LCS, always being towards the top, you know, surely with this roster, he's really gonna unlock himself. No, that guy's a herbivore jungler. Like, that guy actually regressed. I don't know what he's doing, but he's actually just getting worse and not even executing well. So to me, I'm like, okay, Blabber, you're not doing good. You're not looking good, but River's looking super good. Like, that guy, for one, he can't really be on a carry pick, because like if he is, he's just gonna be absolutely useless to this team. But when he actually is on the right champions, he's reading the map, he's moving based on wards and vision that he has and sees. He's not over forcing situations, and he has to be very delicate around everything, because he has all these rookie laners that, you know, if they screw up or if they lose confidence, like, he's gonna have nothing to work with. So he really has to be the heart of this team, and he's making it work. And this team will actively fight. Like, I think that's the most, like, there's a lot of teams I'm realizing at this point that are just not fighting. Like, they're just chilling out. and okay, I shouldn't say chilling out. I should say they're playing a calm, controlled game, but there's less kills. And I can go into this after like the week 3 situations, but 100 Thieves is not one of those teams, and that is really good to have in the league, because now it's like, okay, we definitely have a team breaking off and doing their own thing, and this is really working well versus these teams who are kind of doing it. And then Void came back in week 2, and he was okay. He's actually okay, honestly. Like, he's playing decent. Like, if I was to rank him at this point, I'd rank him above Tomo, Yeon, maybe Meech. Meech's situation is a little awkward because Ayla is playing bad. And so, like, for instance, these are like the 2 rookie ADs, right? Masu and Meech. But for Meech, like, his support is way worse than Masu's support. And of course, and their jungler is better though. But like, it's just when you have a bad support, or a support where you can't lane well or lead well, it makes things really way harder. Like, it's not easy to lead the lane as AD in those situations if the other 2 are working well together. So for him, it's a little like awkward for me to like kind of figure this out always, because if he has someone different, he might look quite different than he is now. And yet the team is 4-3, by the way. But like, that's week 2, and TL is like still like teetering. Like, TL is like doing like 1-for-1. Again, most of their play just surrounds their like Koreans. There's nothing really else outside of that. And then we get into week 3, and this is where things really start blowing up, because, you know, for my team, like, if we went 2-5 or like 1-6 even, the season's really screwed. Like, it's gonna be really hard to make it back up from that. But we managed to beat C9, who had the exact same issues that they did versus Shopify, which was weird to see. So it was not a one-off situation. But I mean, Blabber just depends on his laners to do well and not make mistakes. And they had a lead, and they had a fat lead on bot lane, but they never dove. Like, Blabber never dove us. He never accelerated bot lane. He didn't make any plays. It was only Jojo making plays, but Jojo was on Tristana, so like, he couldn't make like huge plays. And then we started getting catch-ups with Bard, and then our comp was only like 2k behind, but our comp was a better scaling comp and like can more easily 5v5 fight, which we're better at than them, like just having the good group timings. And we kind of just won the game. We outfought them, and we kind of just won the game. And Jojo also was like limited because Ivern would always come around mid and just shield Orianna trade, and like he would get chunked and deflate his ability to do anything. And again, Rel was not doing anything. Rel did literally nothing. So that showed that Blabber is actually pretty bad. Energy kind of started climbing back a little bit here, right? Because like, they got 2 wins here, and then they picked up another win versus TL. TL kind of continued looking bad. This kind of cements Shopify's spot where it's like, oh shit, they lost the Dig. And Dig is like, Rich is really good. Dove is surprisingly better than I thought. Like, I mean, I know he's like, I think he's like 25 or something like that. And a lot of people weren't sure, like, oh, he's coming from the LPL, but he was like a top laner and switched to mid laner. And like, how good is he actually? Like, because this feels like just like a random Korean signing. He's actually not too bad. So their 2 Koreans are good. Their jungler struggles a lot on certain situations, and their bot lane struggles. So that's like where their main weaknesses are. But even then, like, they're still just picking up wins. And Shopify, Insanities is like playing all the most like least mechanically intensive champions you can imagine. Garen, Sion, whatever, Zac. And I know he's trying to be creative and everything, but to a certain point, like, you actually do need to pick some more meta-esque champs, because like, it really does help stabilize the game. But so far, not really happening too much, which is not really helping them. FlyQuest disposed of 100. That was kind of expected, just because FlyQuest is the best like control-based team. Like, Inspired, Whippo play really well around that kind of style. And what was it? 100 was playing Callista Renata, and Ayla's Renata literally could not lead shit in that lane and actually entered the lane. And that kind of just deflated everything. So that went really poorly real quick. And then the next 2 days, what was it? We lost to 100, and we could have won. We had a lead, and we had all the momentum, and then we threw it from poor fighting, execution, and 100 just kind of returned it against us. They outscaled us, and then they just finished us off, so that sucked. And SR won against Energy, and I was like, okay. So, like, SR is a very weird team. Like, they've been only C9 in Energy, so that's really weird. And then TL disposed of Dig, so it's like, I don't know, TL's like all over the place, basically. And then we get into the final day, and it's like, oh shit, so C9's again making the same mistakes as the last 3 games, and TL beats them too. So now everyone's just beating C9, which is like, okay, that's a little weird. And naturally, again, Dig, like, another loss. So Dig has only beaten us and SR, so like Dig hasn't beaten anyone like that far above. 100 beating SR makes sense. And then like we beat Energy, which I'm sure surprised people, and we actually were struggling a bit, but we outfought them, which was really, really great to see, because that's definitely not something we always do. So the fact that we outfought them, sick. And so like that puts us where all these rankings are, and we definitely could have been, well, this game's a little iffy, but it was definitely winnable. The 100 game was super winnable, and the TL game was super winnable. So if we just collected a couple more of these wins, we could have been like in the 2nd and 3rd place realm, maybe even at like the 5-2 mark if we played things right, which 100% would surprise people. C9 at 3 and 4, yeah, they're having a total collapse, but they're just gonna play scaling picks at this point, probably in bot lane. Like, Berserker actually was playing the Lucian fine in the initial waves, and then he just killed himself randomly, and then he killed himself again. But I feel like he's just trying to make plays because he just doesn't have trust. JoJo's insane. I mean, JoJo is playing JoJo is playing really well despite everyone else, and Fudge is doing nothing. Like, literally nothing. So I'm sure they're gonna make a change, because at this point it's like, if things are not going right, playing these aggressive picks, these early picks in bot lane, and then top lane is doing nothing, and our jungler is doing nothing, what do? Do you just start playing more for like top side and then just trying to get Fudge more activated? Do you play more calm picks in bot lane and then you just play like a more control based comp like FlyQuest? Because FlyQuest does it, we do it. Team Liquid a little bit, but not entirely. And then I feel like Cloud9 is like kind of doing this. Though, like, they're trying to do like a split of the two, but I feel like they're leaning more towards like what we're doing. And 100 Thieves and Energy are like the outliers in terms of just like being more aggressive, like really getting in your face and actually creating situations and fights, and then trying to outdo you in those situations. They're both 4 and 3, and you know, this will pay off really well because you're creating situations that are good for you. You just have to play them well. If you don't play them well, then yeah, obviously they're going to turn out terrible. And for FlyQuest, it's like they're the top team, 6 and 1. I don't know if I want to say that they're the. I mean, obviously they are the best team in theory. But the problem I have with their playstyle right now is that it's so slow and so control based that like you're kind of weighing on like, oh, I hope my laners do well, because Jensen's is chilling, you know, Whippo's chilling. Bot lane is like a bit more aggro than the rest, but they are outplaying like the other like bot lanes at times. But also at the same time, the other bot lanes are just playing bad too, because like I said, the Berserker situation. He was landing every single Lucian Q on Masu, and Masu lost all 3 pots in the first 3 waves, so they're actually winning. Like, they're gonna win that lane if he keeps playing that way, and then he just kills himself. And then he kills himself again, and it's like, oh. Well, I can tell you right now, like, the good players in other regions, that's not happening. And then if that doesn't happen, your team is just doing camps and just chilling, and like, what's gonna happen? So, and if you play against obviously more like better aggressive teams like the Vietnamese teams, like the Chinese teams, they're gonna induce fights, and when they induce fights, like you're gonna have to outplay them, and you're hopefully gonna be in a good spot to do it too. Um, but that's just like not the pacing you're used to at all, and I don't know if it's gonna work because LCK teams can deal with it because their players are just that damn good. Like literally, like their teams are just that damn good. But the team fights in LCS, they're nowhere near like that. Not at all. Our team fights are not close to that. So it's fine for LCS, and I actually understand why FlyQuest's style is working so well. Because in the end, if you think about it, also like, oh well, 100 Thieves is one of the more aggressive teams, but you know they're, again, it's Sniper, Quid, Meech, and Ayla. Like it's not the same as having Whippo inspired Jensen. And Energy did beat them, and of course they have players that are very capable of doing that. So this is for sure going to be one of their biggest like competitors. And if C9, I hope they don't go control plays. I hope they literally push into like being aggressive, making aggressive plays, get Blabber out of his herbivore like mentality, wherever this came from. Either it came from having coaches like Malice, the hell was his name? I know Armeo was a coach for him, but I don't think Armeo would do that, teach him that. I don't know. I can't remember. Whoever like LS, like the guy who was like with LS for a bit. But like whoever taught Blabber this, it works to a degree. But like she should really just look at to see how River's doing, because if River was on this team would be this team would be so sick. I believe River would actually create the situations that these players would want. I really do think that. And JoJo's playing the way that you want that style too. Like Quid gets to play in your face, like trying to get whatever out he can from his bases and things like that. And it can make things bad, but it can also make things really good. And JoJo does the same thing, just better. But Blabber's not playing well around it, and neither is Vulcan. So Vulcan and Blabber have to get their shit together before you waste a year having JoJo. And Team Liquid, I don't know what to make of this team. Like I said, I think their top jungle support are doing a good job working around to each other, but I think their actual like strength, like their carry strength is pretty low. So even though they're 4-3, I feel like this team's just gonna slip. They won't win LCS. They'll just probably slip down. Maybe they continue doing well just because like they work well together, but I don't really see this team going that far. Dignitas, they're pretty like same case. Like they're not gonna go too far. It is what it is. Unless their jungler suddenly like, again, if their jungler improved and got more consistent, this team would be like middle pack, upper pack. But until then, probably not gonna happen. And then these guys, Fake God, if he's not on Udyr, it's like pretty whatever. Like he's not really a good team fighter. Boogie gets in really good situations, but then he kind of fumbles them a bit. And then Insanity is just giving up, like trying to be a threat or anything like that. So you have a non-threat top lane and non-threat mid lane. Kind of blows. I guess the best way I could say it. I think Shopify are going to remain on the bottom. I think Dignitas, unless some things happen, will probably remain on the bottom. I think Cloud9 should go up if they become more aggressive. They try to play control based and just chill out. They probably also will still go up because their players are so good, but they might only stick in the middle and like the middle upper section. They might not peak at all at the 1-2 if they keep like, again, if they just play controlled or like they just like stay calm versus like actually like pushing things like Energy and 100 might flop later just because it might happen. I'm not 100% sure because again, I like the style they have, but I think there's certain weaknesses in their players and that this is great, but when other teams get better, this is going to make them slip down. Energy will go up, and then we'll see if FlyQuest can kind of hold off while like Cloud9, us, Team Liquid, like improve. And if they can, then great. They might just be off to the races to first off that alone, but hopefully not. I have some good faith in this team so far on my team. I think we definitely surprised people and have more in the tank. But that is probably my summary of LCS so far, especially going from week to week to week. Like thoughts on like some of these like matches and like how the rankings are going, how the player rankings are kind of going. Because like in mid lane, like JoJo's still the best mid, easily, by far, easily the best mid. Makes great game impacting situations. He pulls numbers into his lane. It's just their team just doesn't do shit with it. And Umpty is like, he's fine. Actually, I'll say this, there's actually situations that Umpty is reading correct on the map, but his team's not even like aware of it or even moving with him, which is weird again because he has impact in core JJ, so they should be like to his hip, or at least especially core, and following his lead because he's making some good reads, but like the team's just like not aware of it all. But he also is inting quite a bit from some of these slots too, so he definitely is like middle of the pack jungler, not top tier at all. And Contracts is top tier. It's River and then it's Contracts 100%. Contracts has actually been playing like fights in situations like that generally really well. He has a really good work ethic. I think he's actually doing incredibly well. And then Inspired would actually be third. I think initially I put Inspired at the fifth set. And I think now I probably would only put him at third still. But he definitely goes up because Blabber's slipping. Umpty's not doing that well. And for like the rest, like my boy Armeo, XQ, Boogie, who am I missing? I guess there's Umpty and Blabber. Like, these three guys, they just need to improve in the end. That's only the first half. There's more to show. Actually, Blabber would be mixed in with everyone here too, technically. Because Umpty makes more situations than Blabber, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you kind of have to decide between these four for jungle. Top laners, like Whippo is doing super well, like playing around the waves and everything, but in terms of like impact, it's like Rich, it might be like Rich Impact Blippo, something like that. Dokla is like way down, like that guy's definitely not doing nearly enough as he can, but I think for what Rich's team is and what he's been doing in top lane consistently, yeah, he's doing his job. He's literally doing his job as a top laner and winning. And then mid, like what I said, mid lane, it's like JoJo, Jensen, Palafox, Mask. I'll put Mask at fourth. And then Quid. Actually, it's between Dove and Quid. One of those two. Insanity would be at the bottom. Then APA. 80s, it's like... Dude, a lot of people are making a shit ton of mistakes. Personally, I feel like Tactical has more presence than Masu, just because Masu's team just kind of makes things super easy for him. But do I feel comfortable putting Tactical at number one? Probably not. FBI, and then I mean Berserker is slipping, but Berserker is also pretty good. FBI, Berserker, Insanity, Tactical, Masu. And kind of you fish it from there. Supports, it's like, oh shit. Honestly, I'd probably put Busio at number one, then Olay. Shit, this is tough. Then probably Huey, Core JJ, Vulcan, Zazel, Isles, Ayla. I know I'm still putting Ayla in the bottom. Maybe I put Ayla above Zazel. I'm not sure, but Olay's like doing super well. Like I said, super well. And I think our players overall are fitting in pretty nicely. Yeah, I think they're actually all fitting out pretty well together, which is pretty amazing because you never know how it's always gonna go. No idea how it's always gonna go. But I'm pretty happy with our work, and yeah, we got what? FlyQuest and Dig next, so we get 2 more wins, 5 and 4. Things are looking bright. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.